Welcome to the grand finals of the 5th YTN Hoops YTN Junior Youth English Debating Championship.
To prove to you actually on how we actually engage and win this debate today, I have 3 clashes. First, is race something that can be justified as a category in science? And second, does having race as a category actually solve racism, even if race is not justified as a category? And lastly, what kind of inherent harms result from using race as a category, right? Now let's move on straight to my first clash, and I'll rebut what their third arguments within my clashes, right? Now let's move on to how it's is there justification. Race is not only something biological, but something that involves environmental and sociological effects as well. Why do you think that race is something that is only biological?
How do you know that there's no pure science? How do you know that just because there's no
Ladies
pure
and gentlemen,
blood,
we
there's
see
no
African Americans living in a poor condition right now. They're living in an inherently poor, unstable condition where they don't really have sustainable water. Where they don't really have healthy foods. Ladies and gentlemen, that is inherently harmful for them. It's not something that they're genetically born with, that they don't have any food to live with, or they have unhealthy food. It's something that is sociological. We say that can't be considered as something biological. We say that's inherently wrong. We say that's exactly why the opposition team loses on this debate today. They simply ignore our justifications for why it's not simply biological. They don't engage in this fact. And we tell you how when it's not justified, we say it leads to inaccurate results. But they also don't rebut to us on the fact about how there is social lens that is inherent as well, right? We don't see any engagement with this. They simply say that facts aren't bad, people are. Then we say that she actually concedes that 1, there are racists, and 2, that she doesn't really engage with our second argument on social lens anyways. We say they're really showing no logic at all. But they also talk about how, we should be allowing these because they have the freedom of science, and how we should be letting science disprove it. We've already told you a case how science has already disproved by having the Human Genome Project. They simply ignore this fact. They tell us, let science disprove it, and we've disproved it to you. Why can't we stop using science as race as a? We say it's inherently bad for our society, and that's why we say race can't be used as a justification. By having proved you the justifications of how race is something that is not justified as a category because it contains sociological and environmental harms as well, we say that we've already won this debate. But let's move on to the even if cases, right? Let's take a look at the harms, even if race could be used as a category, how race shouldn't be used. Let's move on to our second clash. Now, let's talk about, is having race actually beneficial for the racism, solving racism? Because the opposition team simply tells us that, by having race as a category, we're able to disprove racism. Well, we say they're actually they haven't engaged with our first 2 arguments on how there is no legitimacy because we're discriminating. We tell you how the scientists and the funders don't have any incentive to actually have make policies that actually and have projects that are going to disprove racism. We tell you that they have no motivation, but they simply argue on a very ideological fact that they're simply going to, right? We say that's not the case that we see today. We don't see race disproving racism, right? But they also talk about how we have differences in women, right? But we say women and men are inherently different. We have biological differences. When it comes to race, however, they include other factors such as sociological and biological, which we say actually increases the racism as race. And that's why we say we don't really disprove racism. Now let's move on to our last clash, which is about what kind of inherent harms result from using race as a category, right? They simply tell us, well, government policy isn't going to be solving any of these harms anyway. But ladies and gentlemen, just telling us that it's not going to solve it doesn't justify how we don't really have any harms. But we say we don't have these harms because we don't allow race to be a category. We say so that these exploitations that we've already clearly proven to you won't be happening. And so we say we actually don't have any benefit. And we say when it comes to the treatment of diseases, we've already clearly told you from our prime ministers and deputy prime minister's speeches about how it's going to be exploited, how it's not not very beneficial. We don't see any engagement. We see an opposition team who doesn't engage, who doesn't acknowledge the fact that race cannot be used as a category, whether or not it's justified, or not, and that's why we're proud to propose. Thank you.
English debating championship is sweaty clothes, 5-4 decision. Ooh. The winner is the right bird.
Criminals online and without any conspiracy to start this debate.
Regardless of their backgrounds, and this also leads to the votes.
This later in my second or my
Team today comes up to us and tells us, oh, we want a better democracy, but yet they don't know anything about politics at all. They seem to think there's only two parties in America.